Hey, welcome to another episode of Snubbed. This is the eighth episode, I believe. And the movie I watched this time was called Duck Soup, which is a Marx Brothers movie from 1933. This came out towards the end of 1933, but I think I mentioned before the date range for the 32 to 33 Oscars was August 1st, 1932, all the way to the end of 1933. So this came out in November, would have normally been eligible for the next year, but then in 34, they started doing just single year for the movie's calendar year. So this would have competed with those 1932 to 33 movies. The winner was Cavalcade, 42nd Street, Farewell to Arms, I'm a Fugitive from a Chain Gang, Lady for a Day, Little Women, You Done Him Wrong, Smiling Through, State Fair, and The Private Life of Henry VIII. I have mentioned before that I did not like Cavalcade and that I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang was my favorite from this group. And that still remains. This Duck Soup was great. It was hilarious. It was silly, but still funny, silly. And, nearly 100 years later, still holds up the humor. And it's the thing, with a lot of these older movies, you see stuff that you still see today. So it seems kind of derivative at times, but the fact is that a lot of this stuff started back then. So especially, in regards to movies. So the stuff, when you're watching this stuff, it was the original. And that's not even 100% true when it comes to a movie like this, which is a comedy, because these guys started like on vaudeville and all that. So they were probably doing a lot of this shtick on stage before they put it on film. So, even the film version isn't necessarily the first version, but it's still, compared to when you see Adam Sandler do it now or whatever. So yeah, I really like this movie. I just because it's a comedy, as far as being snubbed, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Comedies, even today, don't really get a lot of credit when it comes to the Oscars. So would it have been considered, maybe, maybe not? Should it have? Yeah. I mean, there's definitely movies in this list that I didn't care for. And like the winner, Cavalcade, I didn't like at all. So, I mean, there were 10 movies already. Probably one of them could have been Private Life of Henry VIII. I liked, but was it Oscar worthy? I don't know. Probably not. Smiling Through, I don't think I liked. Maybe I did. I don't know. It's hard to remember them all now because I'm going back and re-recording these snubbed movies after I've already watched up through the 1934 stuff. So it's hard for me to remember some of these things. But yeah, maybe it had a place in there. It definitely wouldn't have won even if it had been nominated, but it probably could have fit in there. It's pretty brilliant. Just a little background on this one from Wikipedia, of course. Duck Soup is a 1933 American pre-code musical black comedy film. I did not know there was going to be singing in it, so that was a bit of a surprise pretty early on. There wasn't a ton, but there was a few songs. It was written by Bert Kalmar and Harry Ruby, directed by Leo McCarey, released by Paramount Pictures on November 17th, 1933. Stars the four Marx Brothers, Groucho, Harpo, Chico, and Zeppo in his final film appearance, and also features Margaret Dumont, Louis Calhern, Raquel Torres, and Edgar Kennedy. Duck Soup was the last of the five Marx Brothers films released by Paramount Pictures. In the film, Groucho portrays the newly installed president of the fictional country of Fredonia. Zeppo is his secretary, while Chico and Harpo are spies for the neighboring country of Sylvania. Relations between Groucho and the Sylvanian ambassador deteriorate during the film, eventually leading the two countries to war. Compared to the Marx Brothers' previous films, Duck Soup was a financial disappointment, though it was not an outright box office failure, as is sometimes reported. The film opened to mixed reviews, although this by itself did not end the group's association with Paramount. Bitter contract disputes, including a threat by the Marxes to leave and found their own production company, soured their negotiations with the studio just as Duck Soup went into production. After the film fulfilled their 5-picture obligation to Paramount, the Marxes and the studio agreed to part ways. While contemporaneous critics of Duck Soup felt it did not quite rise to the level of its predecessors, critical opinion has evolved and the film has since achieved the status of a classic. Duck Soup is now widely considered among many critics and fans to be a masterpiece of comedy as well as the Marx Brothers' finest film. In 1990, The United States Library of Congress deemed duck soup culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant and selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry. Where did I watch this one? I watched this on Amazon Prime. It was available free. There's a lot of information in the Wikipedia, and I'm not going to go through it all. Duck soup was American English slang at that time, referring to something easy to do. Conversely, to duck something meant to avoid it. When Groucho was asked for an explanation of the title, he quipped, "Take 2 turkeys, 1 goose, 4 cabbages, but no duck, and mix them together. After one taste, you'll duck soup for the rest of your life." Director McCary reportedly came up with the title for the film, having previously used it for an earlier directorial effort with Laurel and Hardy. This continued the animal titles of the brothers' previous 3 films, Animal Crackers, Monkey Business, and Horse Feathers. Carey also thought up the very Laurel and Hardy-like sequence in which Harpo and Chico stage a break-in Miss Teasdale's house. Another McCary contribution was the mirror scene, a revival of an old Marx Brothers vaudeville act. And the mirror scene was pretty amazing. They did, Groucho and Harpo were both dressed the same. Harpo was dressed as Groucho character. And, they walk into a place where there had been a mirror, but it broke. And so Harpo, being a spy and not wanting to get caught, was forced to mimic everything that Groucho was doing. And, it gets sillier and sillier with them bringing in, like, Groucho picks up a hat and Harpo picks up a different hat, but and then they even switch places at one point in the mirror. So that was pretty good. And there was just a lot, it's all just one-liners and repeating the same joke. You can very much see the influence of this on stuff like the Zucker brothers, Zucker, Abrams, Zucker, like Airplane and Police Story and the Naked Gun movies, all that stuff where they just, they repeat the same joke. So in that regard too, I like going back and watching these movies because you kind of see that where stuff now, or the stuff that I grew up with watching, came from, or where their inspirations were from. So this one was very good. Again, would it have won? No, probably not. Should it have been nominated? Maybe. It's better than several of the movies in my opinion, it's better than several of the movies that I watched that were nominated for this round of Oscars. So, and definitely I liked it better than the winner. I still liked I'm a Fugitive from a Chain Gang the best though. So I might put this one second in the list of this year's movies. So that's it. Stay tuned for the next real episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. Bye.